The Tesla Robotaxi was recently unveiled, and I can't believe this is only 2 years away for another 20 years. Yep, you heard me right. The Tesla Robotaxi, a vehicle that promises full autonomy, unsupervised driving, and a world without steering wheels. It's the future of transportation, apparently. But the truth is, Tesla has been promising these autonomous wonders for years now, and then delaying them again and again. So the question is, does Tesla Robotaxi even make sense? Remember the $35,000 Tesla Model 3 or the Cybertruck's initial price of $39,000? Those promises never quite made it to reality. Now here we are again with a $30,000 Robotaxi being dangled in front of us, and it's supposed to launch before 2027. If you're like me, you might be wondering, how long are we going to keep hearing just 2 more years for these tech innovations? Tesla's reliance on bold promises isn't new. Take the Tesla Semi, for example. Announced in 2017, the fully electric long-haul truck was supposed to revolutionize the transport industry, with deliveries expected to begin in 2019. But after years of delays and production issues, the Semi is only just now seeing limited rollouts, and even then, not at the scale originally promised. It's a familiar pattern. Tesla creates massive hype, stokes excitement, and then struggles to meet those timelines. The full self-driving package is another case in point. When Elon Musk introduced it, he called it the future of driving, autonomous cars that could handle any situation, from city streets to highway traffic, with zero human intervention. In 2016, Musk famously predicted that a Tesla would be able to drive itself across the US coast to coast by the end of the following year. Yet, here we are 7 years later, and despite countless software updates and beta versions, the FSD still requires driver supervision and has been plagued by issues like phantom braking, poor lane changes, and most alarmingly, crashes that have resulted in fatalities. The tech is improving, sure, but far from the hands-free experience Musk originally envisioned. Customers who shelled out thousands of dollars for the promise of a self-driving future are still waiting. It's not just about cars either. Tesla's other ventures follow a similar trajectory. Take Tesla Solar Roof, for instance. Unveiled in 2016, it was supposed to change the way we power our homes, replacing traditional roofing materials with solar panels that seamlessly blend into the structure. Yet, despite the hype, solar roof installations remain prohibitively expensive for most homeowners, and the rollout has been incredibly slow, with many potential customers either waiting indefinitely or opting for traditional solar panels instead. The Cybertruck is a perfect example of the disconnect between Elon's grand vision and what's delivered. When the Cybertruck was revealed in 2019, it was supposed to launch in 2021 with a base model costing just $39,900. Fast forward to 2024, and the production version has only just started rolling off the assembly line, with the price having skyrocketed to nearly $100,000 for certain models. What happened to that affordable, futuristic vehicle that was going to be a game changer? Delays, design changes, and supply chain issues have all contributed to pushing back the timeline, but the result is clear. Tesla's ability to deliver on time and at the promised price remains questionable at best. And now we have the Tesla Robotaxi, the next piece of the puzzle in Musk's vision for a fully autonomous future. The idea sounds incredible: an entire fleet of self-driving cars roaming cities, picking up passengers without the need for a driver. A world where you can send your Tesla off to work as a rideshare vehicle while you're at your 9-to-5 job, generating income for you. But here's the thing, this dream has been sold before. Musk has been talking about robotaxis for years, and the idea that they'll be on the road by 2027 is, quite frankly, hard to believe. After all, Tesla's current vehicles, which have been advertised as full self-driving, still require a human behind the wheel to intervene. Even their much-touted autopilot system has led to several high-profile crashes, some fatal, raising serious questions about the safety and readiness of their autonomous technology. It's not just about Tesla's struggles with timelines and pricing, it's also about the regulatory landscape. The world isn't exactly ready for fully autonomous vehicles, especially ones without steering wheels or human drivers. While Tesla can roll out tech updates to its current fleet, achieving true level 5 autonomy where no driver is needed requires navigating a minefield of regulations that vary from country to country and even state to state. For years, regulators have been slow to approve anything beyond level 2, where a driver must remain in control. In fact, most Tesla vehicles today are still classified as level 2, meaning the dream of Robotaxis cruising around city streets unsupervised is not just a technical hurdle, but a legal one. Musk has promised that Robotaxis will be a reality soon, but the regulatory framework simply isn't there yet. Governments around the world are still debating how to regulate self-driving cars, especially when it comes to liability in the event of an accident. And it's not just Tesla's word on the line. They need to prove beyond a doubt that their cars are safer than human drivers, something that's proving more difficult than anticipated. Autonomous driving is hard, and Tesla's vision of fleets of robotaxis roaming freely feels even further out of reach when you consider the legal battles still being fought over its current autopilot system. Then there's the question of infrastructure. Tesla might be able to push software updates over the air, but where are these robotaxis going to charge? Inductive charging, which Tesla touts as part of the robotaxi experience, is still in its infancy. The idea of cars driving themselves to wireless charging pads sounds great, but in practice, it's not widely available and far less efficient than traditional plug-in charging. For robotaxis to work at scale, cities would need to build out new infrastructure specifically for these vehicles. Right now, that infrastructure doesn't exist, and it's unclear if it ever will. Musk may be envisioning a world where fleets of robotaxis charge themselves overnight and run continuously without human intervention, but the reality is far messier and far less certain. But it's more than just delays. The whole concept seems like Tesla and other tech companies are doing everything they can to avoid tackling the real issue: public transit. Instead of autonomous buses or shuttles, we get two-seater robotaxis. Is this really progress, or is it just feeding our obsession with cars one more unnecessary step in avoiding solutions that benefit everyone? In fact, this fixation on cars over public transit is one of the largest criticisms of Tesla's strategy. Think about it. While cities around the world are investing in sustainable, efficient public transport systems to reduce traffic congestion and lower carbon emissions, Tesla is doubling down on a vision where everyone still relies on personal vehicles just without drivers. Public transportation options like autonomous buses, trains, or even expanded subway networks could solve many of the problems plaguing modern urban environments: overcrowded streets, rising pollution levels, and the environmental costs of manufacturing more cars. These systems serve a collective good, providing affordable, scalable solutions that benefit all of us, not just those who can afford a robo-taxi or a Tesla. Instead, Tesla's robo-taxi seems to be a step backward in terms of urban planning. Let's say there actually was a city filled with thousands of individual autonomous cars, each navigating through congested streets, picking up single passengers and dropping them off at different locations. Even without human drivers, this model doesn't reduce the number of vehicles on the road. It simply replaces human-operated cars with robot-driven ones. The traffic problem remains unsolved, and in fact, it could get worse. In densely populated areas where efficient public transportation should be the goal, Tesla's vision reinforces a car-centric culture. This fixation on personal cars over communal transport systems overlooks the larger issues we face, not just traffic, but the space cars take up when they're not in use, the infrastructure required to maintain them, and the pollution they contribute even in electric form through the production of vehicles and batteries. The Robo Robotaxi, like Tesla's other products, is designed to serve the company's long-term profitability by keeping customers within the Tesla ecosystem. By relying on autonomous cars, Tesla can push more vehicles into the market, sell more hardware, and capitalize on the data their fleet of cars constantly collects. Public transit, by contrast, is harder to monetize on a per-user basis, and it doesn't lend itself to the kind of continuous, upgrade-driven revenue stream that Tesla thrives on. With Robotaxis, Tesla can sell the dream of passive income, own a Tesla, and have it generate money while you're not using it, further embedding the idea that car ownership is both a status symbol and an economic asset. This strategy benefits Tesla, but it may not be the solution cities need as they try to tackle the real problems of urban transportation. And now let's talk about the Robotaxi itself. From the outside, it looks futuristic, almost like a mini Cybertruck with sharp angles, a sleek metallic finish, and no exterior door handles or mirrors. Its compact two-seater design screams future, but some of the design choices raise serious questions about practicality and safety. One of the most glaring issues is the complete lack of rear visibility. With no rear window and no mirrors, passengers are entirely reliant on the car's cameras and sensors to navigate. In theory, this makes sense for an autonomous vehicle, but in practice, it strips away another layer of control and comfort from the passengers. It's one thing to sit in a car driven by a human, but it's another thing entirely to sit in a vehicle with no clear view of what's happening behind you, trusting the AI to handle everything without giving you any direct visual feedback. Then there's the absence of a steering wheel or pedals, which, while making sense for a vehicle designed to be fully autonomous, can be unnerving. We all are used to having control, or at the very least, having the option of taking control in an emergency. Without a manual override system, something as basic as a steering wheel or even emergency pedals, passengers are completely at the mercy of the AI. What happens if the system malfunctions or faces a scenario it hasn't been programmed to handle? There's no way for a passenger to take over. This raises serious safety concerns, especially when you consider the fact that Tesla's current full self-driving technology is still not fully autonomous and has been involved in several high-profile crashes. It's difficult to imagine the general public feeling comfortable in a car that offers no escape route or means of control in an emergency. But perhaps the biggest issue is the massive screen that dominates the interior. Sure, Tesla's touchscreens have been a central feature of their vehicles for years, but in the Robotaxi, the screen isn't just a convenience. It's the primary interface for everything. It controls the doors, seatbelts, climate control, and presumably entertainment options like Netflix. But beyond these basic functions, the screen needs to do much more if Tesla hopes to build public trust. For a fully driverless car to succeed, passengers need to feel confident that the vehicle is aware of its surroundings and making safe, informed decisions. The screen should be constantly providing feedback, showing what the car's sensors are detecting, explaining why it's making certain maneuvers, and alerting passengers to potential hazards. Instead of using this valuable real estate for ads or entertainment, Tesla needs to make it a tool for transparency. Without this, passengers are left in the dark, quite literally, about what the car is doing. This lack of feedback creates a huge psychological barrier. Studies show that people are more afraid of driverless cars than they are of traditional ones, even though human error causes the vast majority of road accidents. The difference is control. When we drive, we feel in control, even if we're statistically worse drivers than an AI. In a driverless car, all control is handed over to a machine, and without clear communication about what the machine is doing, it's hard to trust it. Tesla could bridge this gap by making the screen a window into the car's mind, displaying real-time data about the car's sensors, routes, and potential obstacles. This would not only build trust, but also ease anxiety for passengers who are nervous about riding in a vehicle with no human driver. Then there's the issue of emergency preparedness, or rather, the lack of it. One glaring omission in the Robotaxi's design is the absence of an emergency multi-door unlock system. Think about it. What happens if the system fails? If there's a power outage? Are we really ready to sit in a car where we have no manual control, no steering wheel, and no way to physically exit in an emergency? In traditional cars, even those with power locks, there's always a mechanical fallback, a way to manually open the door if the electrical system goes down. The Robotaxi offers no such option. It's a fully sealed capsule, dependent entirely on the tech working flawlessly. But we know from experience that even the most advanced systems can fail. Finally, there's the concern about battery life and wireless charging. The Robotaxi is designed to use inductive wireless charging, which, while innovative, is still less efficient than traditional plug-in charging. It requires precise alignment, and if the car is even slightly off the charging pad, the process becomes inefficient. What happens if the car can't charge properly? Is there a backup system in place? And what about longer trips? Tesla has said the Robotaxi won't have a supercharging port, meaning it's limited to wireless charging pads that are few and far between, making it impractical for anything beyond short, local trips. For a vehicle that's supposed to be a game changer, these limitations feel like significant obstacles to widespread adoption. Now, Tesla isn't the only one in the self-driving game. While Elon Musk often makes headlines with bold promises and flashy unveilings, the truth is that Waymo and Cruise have been quietly making significant strides in autonomous driving for years. Waymo, a subsidiary of Alphabet Google's parent company, has been operating fully autonomous rides in select areas since 2018. What's more impressive is that these aren't just tests. They're real services with real customers already in operation in cities like Phoenix, Arizona, and more recently, parts of Los Angeles. Granted, Waymo's cars are still geo-fenced to specific areas where they've mapped every inch of the road, but their cars are driving around in everyday conditions without a human driver. Waymo has clocked over 20 million miles in fully autonomous mode, amassing a wealth of data that Tesla simply doesn't have yet. The fact that they've been quietly but steadily deploying these vehicles on public roads without the same level of fanfare raises the question, is Tesla really leading this race, or is it just louder? Meanwhile, Cruise, backed by General Motors, is also making headway in San Francisco, a notoriously challenging city for autonomous driving due to its steep hills, dense traffic, and unpredictable pedestrians. Cruise's cars are navigating real-world conditions, and much like Waymo, they're focusing on slow, methodical progress rather than grand proclamations. This cautious approach seems to be paying off. Unlike Tesla, which tends to push updates directly to its customer base in beta form, Cruise and Waymo have taken a more conservative approach, working closely with regulators and operating only in areas where their tech is thoroughly vetted and approved. This brings us to the big question: is Tesla's Robotaxi really as groundbreaking as they claim? Waymo already exists. It's not just a concept, it's out there driving people around in real-world conditions right now. Tesla may be promising to take autonomy to the next level by creating a massive fleet of robotaxis that operate freely without geofencing. But getting to that point is an entirely different challenge. While Waymo and Cruise are proving their technologies in carefully controlled environments, Tesla's vision is far more ambitious and far less proven. Tesla wants to skip the baby steps and leap straight into full-scale, unsupervised autonomy, which requires not only advanced AI, but also a massive regulatory overhaul. Moreover, Tesla's reliance on camera-based systems, as opposed to the LiDAR and radar used by Waymo and Cruise, adds another layer of complexity. Elon Musk has famously dismissed LiDAR as unnecessary and too expensive, opting instead for a more cost-effective solution that relies solely on cameras and software. But this decision has sparked significant debate within the autonomous driving community. LiDAR provides an incredibly detailed 3D map of a car's surroundings, which can be critical in avoiding obstacles, especially in complex urban environments. While Tesla's approach might eventually prove to be just as effective, the question remains whether they can achieve the same level of accuracy and safety without it. And it's not just me who's skeptical about the Robotaxi, the market itself is starting to doubt. After the announcement, Tesla's stock dropped by 9%, a significant fall that sent a clear message: investors aren't convinced. This isn't the reaction you'd expect for a groundbreaking product that could revolutionize the way we think about transportation. If the Robotaxi were the golden ticket to an autonomous future, you'd expect the stock to surge, with investors eager to get a piece of the action. But instead, the market reacted with caution, even skepticism. And that's telling. Investors have seen this before: bold proclamations followed by delays, price hikes, and underwhelming execution. Maybe it's because people have seen this play out before. Tesla is no stranger to bold promises and delayed deliveries. The Model 3, the Cybertruck, the full self-driving package, each one arrived much later than expected and often at a higher price or with fewer features than originally promised. The excitement surrounding these announcements has always been tempered by the reality that Tesla often struggles to meet its own deadlines. Investors are growing weary of the constant pushbacks, and the Robotaxi feels like another overpromised vision that may fall victim to the same fate. It's one thing to be a visionary company, but at some point the market wants results, not just dreams. And then there's the issue of regulatory hurdles. Full autonomy isn't just about developing the right technology, it's about getting approval from government agencies around the world. This is no small task. Self-driving technology has been a hot topic for years, but governments are notoriously slow when it comes to regulating new tech, especially when safety is involved. We're talking about a massive shift in the way transportation works, and it's not just up to Tesla to decide when Robotaxis can hit the streets. Musk may have set a timeline for 2027, but the real gatekeepers are the regulators, and so far they haven't shown much willingness to fast-track autonomous vehicles, especially ones with no manual controls whatsoever. This uncertainty has led many investors to question whether Tesla can truly deliver on its promises, and more importantly, whether they can navigate the complex legal landscape in time. Another factor contributing to the market's reaction could be the growing sense that competition is catching up. As mentioned earlier, companies like Waymo and Cruise are already operating autonomous vehicles in some cities. Tesla's Robotaxi, while ambitious, isn't as far ahead of the curve as it once seemed. Investors aren't just looking at Tesla's tech, they're looking at the broader market, and it's becoming clear that the race for autonomy is more crowded than ever. So, what's the real truth about Tesla's Robotaxi? It's an ambitious, even audacious vision for the future of transportation, but it's also filled with uncertainties, delays, and a lot of unanswered questions. Tesla isn't the first to try, and they won't be the last, but the truth is, we're still waiting to see if they can actually deliver.